ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of the FPV Livestream. This week, in lieu of a build recently dying on me, I am building one of my own quads. This is currently my favorite frame. It's the Atmospheric Adventures Artemis. It's a 180 quad, but swings 5-inch props. It's that minimal True X design. And it's great. This is going to be my second one, and both of these quads are going to have the exact same set of electronics across the entire thing, so hopefully I can eventually get them to be performing about the same. So, oh, I should have taken this off my bag already. Let me grab the one I've got built. Ah. This one. Ah, a stupid camera isn't working yet again. Come on, buddy. Camera, Anyway, but so Atmospheric Adventures has been sponsoring a lot of stuff here on the FPV live stream lately. You know what? I'm just gonna I'm gonna change my audio here. The sound is repeating. I'm just gonna switch to this mic. Okay, I'm gonna. Sometimes I have my Yeti has problems, and so I'm switching off to the regular built-in mic on the MacBook. Anyway, so here is a naked Artemis. I'll show you what comes in the box here because I think it's pretty cool. I think Atmospheric Adventures, they're a premium frame manufacturer, so some of their stuff tends to be on the expensive side. But I think it is okay because they send you a lot of really good stuff, including every frame comes with a power distribution board, and then it comes with more hardware than you'll ever need. Like, you know, this requires 4 standoffs. They send 8, all the screws and stuff all the way through. I've already put some on here and whatnot, stickers as well. And so yeah, and then the frame comes with, you know, this top plate, this awesome camera mounting system, which we'll talk about, you know, later when we get to it. It's awesome. So I'm going to show. I'm very excited about how that works. And then, you know, it's just bolted all the way through, and then we're going to tap into these for the top plate. And yeah, we got, you know, nice battery strap. I've actually got the original battery strap that I was given with my original frame, flown for 3-4 months now, and still not gotten through that strap, and it works really good. It's got really, really grippy back surface here. So that's good. Pigtail with it, which is nice because I always run out of female XC60s. But so yeah, so electronics. So like I said, this one and the one we're building right now are going to be identical to each other with everything except for this. This here is the Flip 32 F3 AIO. AIO meaning all in one. And it has a built-in OSD. It is a flight controller. It's an F3 flight controller. And it's just got a crap ton of features. And I want to use this flight controller so that I have that OSD built in without without having to go to try to stick in an OSD somewhere. It's gonna have everything kind of built in there. So I'm kind of helping Ready to Fly Quads test this guy out, and I'm super excited to use it. I've actually done all of the software configuration already, and I've soldered on some headers for my. This is essentially used as a dip switch. That's just jumping some ports so that the UART that controls the USB knows how to connect between either the flight controller, the OSD, or connect the flight controller to the OSD. That's a normal thing when you're dealing with all-in-one boards. Moving right along, we are running the Ready to Fly Quads 2206 2200 kV motors. I was skeptical of these motors at first. I mean, they're airbots, so they should be okay. But I had problems with some in the past, some 2204, 2300s that just didn't like. I just didn't like they were not rigid at all. They kept breaking. And so I have had 8 of these. So I've got the same motors obviously on this quad. I have had 8 of these for 3 months now, and I have yet to break one. I don't know if I'm just getting lucky or whatever, but so I'm pretty thrilled about how they are turning out so far. So, Ready to Fly Quads 2206 2200 kV. This is just a Boss Cam VTX. I think this is actually a 400 milliwatt. Don't tell anybody I fly with. I will set it up so that I can swap these out real easy, real fast. KD Design. I am one of the sponsored pilots. I have 4 of them. They fly so good. Awesome. I am jealous of your sponsorship, and I'm so glad that you guys have been partnering with me on this stream. I've got a bunch of. I've got my Artemis. I've got my Apollo 2. I've got an Atlas sitting here. I've got. I've been flying. I actually flew just before this my Apollo 1. So I love that thing. I guess I got a pigtail, but there's already one on the flight controller, so we don't need that. That's nice. This is a X4R-2 SB. I've taken off everything that I possibly can, so it's just decased, and then this is a really short antenna, but it still fits where I need it to go in the frame. Some LEDs. I always put a green LED on top and a red one on the bottom, and so this is that same sandwich of the green will go on top, the red will go on the bottom. It doesn't look very good, but it's just a nice thing to have on all of them. KD Design says they're great guys. I agree. I got to meet Darren at Megadrone X and raced against him and had some fun, so that was good. Camera cable. This is an HS1177 with a 2.1 millimeter lens. Nothing exciting there. Just an antenna that I have set aside for this build. For some reason I have an FTDI adapter, which I don't need. This is the cable for the VTX. And then we have our ESCs. These are the Ready to Fly Quads, ARM 32-bit, 30 amp ESCs. I run them exclusively right now, and they do a fantastic job. Super smooth, super high stepping count, super fun. So that's what we're going to be putting on here. How much are those F30s going to cost? Do you like the 2.1? I tried it, but really like the 2.8. I only fly 2.1. I can barely even fly 2.8 quads anymore. It's the field of view is just too limited for me, and I can't do it. All right, so as always, I'm going to start with the speed controllers, because then all of the electronics, that I will be using will mount around that. So what I do, like I always say, is a little bit different from what was I saying? Gosh, I'm sorry. I just do this a little bit different from what most people would normally do. because I like to have my ESCs easy to access. So I actually just put a little bit of electrical tape down on the frame to insulate it against shorting out, because carbon fiber is conductive. And that will, then I will later wrap my speed controllers in a layer of electrical tape, and that will keep everything tied together and easy to maintain later, because you can't, it's a pain in the butt to try to do heat shrink in the field. Oops, that was a little long. Well, if you're a first-time guest, I'm super excited that you're here. This is a weekly show. Every Thursday, we get together and build a quad or maintain a quad or talk about quads. Something will be happening every week, Thursdays, at either 8 or 9 o'clock Central Time. So if you have nothing to do, or if you do have stuff to do, stop by, check it out. Next week will be an interesting one. I'm actually going to make a video to announce it. So subscribe and check out that. It's going to be really fun, I think. So, yeah. Then, if you're a returning visitor, I'm glad that you're back. I love doing this show, and I love having people come back and ask questions, and hopefully we're able to help each other learn how to build a little bit better. Okay, so then once we've got that electrical tape down, we can literally just put a layer of electrical tape around them. And that will keep them locked in place while we're working on them, locked in place while we're flying them, and we'll never have to reheat shrink this in the field, which is just something I cannot do. I will not waste 10 minutes getting a perfect heat shrink cut, heated, blah, 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 when I should be racing. This way I can just take a X-Acto knife and go, shing, and pull it off. And it's done. AJ Pacho says, Paul, it's good to catch this. I've actually been looking at this frame to build. I met you at the Cold Ass CDR event a couple weeks ago. That was the spring bash. Ironically cold for a spring event. Flew with you in the final round. Awesome. Thanks for stopping by. I'm glad that you were able to make it. And I hope that this stream will help you make your final decision on whether or not you choose to build this frame. I think you should. I think it's a great frame. But everyone should fly what they like the best, not what I tell them or anyone tells them they should fly, because there are different merits for each. But I like this thing a lot. And that's why I'm going to have 2 of them. Okay. So now we've got our speed controllers on there. What I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to just go ahead and wire up the power for each of them. I like to kind of get that out of the way because it's usually the lowest part of the build, and it's hopefully going to be touched the least, which means that we want it to be done quick out of the way, but made to last. Also, thank you to one of my subscribers, DRK Avenger, or Dark Avenger, aka Chris, for getting me this beautiful new soldering iron. I am thrilled with it. I've been using it constantly, trying to fiddle with settings and learn how to, what temperatures are good for what kind of electronics. And so I'm super glad for it and super thankful that he would send that out to me. So Chris, thank you so much. I am floored by this community and by generosity like that. Forgot which side is positive, which side is negative, so I'm trying to find. I've got more of them sitting around. I just need to double check that I got. I'm pretty sure I know which side is which, but I need to double check. Is this a 30? No, I think this is 18. Anyway, okay, so right side is positive signal, ground signal, ground. Okay, I'll leave that out as an example for when I need it. Okay, so power is on the right side. This wire is already tinned. I've got my iron set at 400 degrees Celsius. I don't know if that's the right thing to use, but it seems to be the right, just hot enough to melt things right away, but not so hot that I'm burning out my entire the element on this thing. And then we're going to trim this down to length. I like to go around the inside like this, so even though it's a little bit longer, a little bit heavier, it's going to keep everything nice and compact and out of the way. How do you secure your main XT60 power lead so it's not tugging on the PDB? I don't. It is just tugging on the PDB. Okay, and I'm going to pre-tin this wire. Get yourself some nice tweezers. I did not realize how useful these would be when I first got started building, and now I can't live without them. Everybody made fun of me for not using tweezers. Okay. Oh, one thing that I did recently was I pulled apart a old power supply and made a little fan, because it just runs off 12 volts, just to kind of blow away all of the solder fumes from my desk. I usually have a battery alarm on that, but that's a big battery to last all night long if I want it to. Also a good way to discharge LiPos if you need to. Okay, now we got to get the ground on. Let me know if that fan's too loud. It might be. You recommend those ready-to-fly quads flight controllers still? Yes, I do. Very highly. I fly them exclusively. Whoa, did that come off? What? Looks like we might not be hot enough. Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm having the worst time with my Flip 32 F3 OSD board. It won't take SPF clean flight firmware. I found the documentation on the Airbot website just fine. And what I found was that I needed to use a particular baud rate. It's about 1500 something, which I think is true for all F3 boards actually. And then, are you sure that you have the jumper cables jumped at the right order? Or in the right order? The power distribution board is from Ready to Fly Quads. I don't remember exactly how to find it, but if you look in their like new release products section, you'll see it. It's like $1.50, but it has two linear regulators, one for 5 volt, one for 12. Just stupid simple. Fits well with KISS and Lux boards. Not that I use either of those, but it's got that same form factor, which I really like. Pretty much all of the electronics are from Ready to Fly. Yep. FPV system is not. I've never seen a Boba Fett stream now, but I heard they were great. Just caught this one now. Thanks for coming. It's a lot of fun. If you have any questions about just about anything, let me know, and I would be happy to bullcrap you about it. And yeah, I see your point. It's I-shaped, so it must be good, right? No, I mean, it has two just fine voltage regulators built in, easy to use pads. The only thing I don't like about it is where the battery lead pads are. They're a little bit too close together for high gauge wire, so it makes it pretty tricky to get that in there without accidentally shorting something. Not that I haven't done it yet, but I'm worried I will. So that's the only thing I don't like about it, is that these pads are all real close together. But aside from that, this thing is great. All right. Numero 3. How many amps are the regulators on that PDB? I believe they're 1 amp each. But don't quote me on that. I run my flight controller off the 5 volt and both my VTX and camera off the 12. No, I get 0 lines from filtering, and I have never lost power to a component because of it not having enough throughput. What motors are you running? These are the ready-to-fly quads 2206 2200 kV motors. They're cheap and durable and in stock. I didn't get the AIO. Mine doesn't have jumpers. I don't see mine on the Airbot website. Wait, I thought you had... Wait, which board do you have? Just throwing this out here, but what goggles do you use? Dominator V3s. Yeah, no, questions like that are totally fine and totally welcome. Yeah. Ready-to-fly quads flip 32 plus F3 OSD. Isn't that the AIO board? I'm confused. Sorry. Hey bud, are you going to run Betaflight and multi-shot on this one? I am going to run Betaflight. I would like to run multi-shot, but the version of the firmware that I have on these ESCs is not multi-shot, unfortunately. That is something that I'm working with Ready-to-Fly Quads to resolve, as I've been a pretty serious beta tester for the Firefly ESCs, which I think are their official name now, these 32-bit ones. And so I do not yet have the ability to support multi-shot on these ones, but as soon as I do, I will be trying it out. And if it goes well, then I will definitely be using multi-shot on here. But I tend not to fiddle with my softwares too much. Like, I stay behind a couple versions on Betaflight because I want everything to kind of fly consistently. I want to be able to trust it, and I want it to always feel the same way. That's why I'm building 2 identical quads for racing. The Rotor Riot crew have said that the 16:9 aspect ratio is not good. Well, not good is obviously a relative term, right? You know, what is important to me is that I fly what I'm used to. And at the end of the day, what's happening is that your image is just getting stretched a little bit. And that's true. I definitely agree that the image is stretched and that it's different than the true resolution that's displayed on the camera. Now, does that matter? Is one better than the other? No. I mean, literally, it's literally the same picture being displayed at the same rate, at the same level of detail. One just happens to be stretched a little bit. I mean, it's like looking at, you know, a picture on Photoshop that has been slightly stretched. You know, it's all literally the same thing. You're just looking at it with a slightly different perspective. So as long as you're comfortable with the perspective, just fly what you're used to. And if you're getting started, there's no reason not to start flying with a different perspective from the beginning. So I don't really care what Rotor Riot has to say about it. I don't know if that sounds bad or not. Just because they tend to be pretty opinionated guys that have certain products that they need to sell. Now I lost the rest of that black cable. There it is. 2.1 millimeter lens on everything, yes. To each their own regarding aspect ratio. I'm a 2.8 guy with Dom V2s that have 4x3 and might give a 2.5 lens a shot. So I started flying with the Quantum V1s, and the default resolution on that screen is set to 16:9, or aspect ratio, sorry. And I didn't realize that at the time, so I just started flying with 16:9 from the beginning. And so that's all I've ever known. And like I said, I could fly 4x3 if I sit down with some, but it's just I'm comfortable with 16:9, so why bother changing? Like, there is no performance gain from doing so. It's all the same thing, just stretched a little bit. Most of my friends run the Dom V3s. Mostly because Dom V2s were just about done being produced when we started considering buying goggles. And that's okay. We do all right. What's the next big race you will be attending? The next race I'm going to is Flight Bash in Cleveland, Ohio. It's put on by Buddy RC, and Tattoo is a big sponsor of it, I believe. Competing actually for a $4,000 grand prize, so that would be kind of nice. But we'll see. I've heard of some pretty top pilots that are going to be there. So clean, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy so far. But I mean, there's no wires on it yet, hardly. So it's always going to look clean at this stage. All right, so we need counterclockwise on this corner here. Is that camera out of focus? Ah! I lost my nut to my nuts. When is that race date? It's not this weekend, but next. So whatever date that is, I can't do math. Gosh, what the heck? There we go. Alright, so now we got to mount motors, which is just kind of a tedious process. So, sorry. Anybody else building tonight? If so, what are you building? Ooh, never mind. I'm not going to use that one. It's really strict. I'm with the other guys, FPV Racing in Colorado. Oh, did you travel out with them? Darren had mentioned me from the road, or mentioned that they were traveling or something. Wish I was building too much homework. Yeah, that's the worst. I am glad I am done with that phase of my life. School is the worst. Just got my LaForge diversity modules from UBAD, and I love them. Do you have them yet, or have you tried them out at least? Worth every penny. I do not have them. I wish I did. I've kind of been in a bit of a spending freeze at the moment due to some financial pressures that my family and I are dealing with. But I will probably pick up a set as soon as that issue is resolved. In the meantime, I've been kind of actually focusing on upgrading my base station a lot and getting that really good just with stuff that I have and can use. But yeah, I really, really want to try and own the LaForge module. I think it'd be a really nice upgrade for those times when you don't have time to bring up the base station. I should be on the road to Phoenix, not enough time and money. Yeah, I would love to go to one of those events out there. Okay. We went to Iowa with the other guys. Oh, nice. The Midwest drone battle, was it? Doing French as I watch this. That's all the French I know. That and omelette du fromage. I won the Aerial Sports League Maker Fair race last weekend, though. It was such a fun event. Yeah, no, I think I saw that. I meant to send you a message and say congratulations. So my bad. I'm totally dropping the ball on that. good work. I mean, there were good pilots there. Like, wasn't like Moak there, and whatnot. Well done. Is Flying Bear there? I think. Yeah, I missed. Well, I have to get going. I wish I could stick around and watch the whole thing. Good luck with the rest. Yeah, I mean, once the video, whole thing will be uploaded tomorrow to the channel, so you can always come back and check it out if you want. But yeah, no, thanks for stopping by. Always glad to have anyone. Swing best. Yes, you have some great questions. It helps me when you guys are asking questions because then I can kind of talk when I'm working through the dollar bits like screwing on motors. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab a drink while my iron heats up. It was my first light track, too. Isn't that amazing? Light tracks are just crazy fun. Okay. Pantalons de fromage. You have pants of fire? Yo tengo fuego en mis pantalones. Gotta turn my fan back on. I gotta rig a switch up to that. XDC2. That looked like a crazy event, too. One of these days, I gotta get out to some of the Vegas stuff. So it seems like that's becoming FPV mecca. At least on the pro circuit, anyway. I still always love the local events, though. I think multi-GP has it right with the keeping a lot of it as a kind of a grassroots movement. You know, just it's some guys get together, have some fun, but take themselves a little bit seriously at the same time, so that you know there's structure and rules and whatnot, but not exhaustively, just enough to keep it consistent. Was XDC2 the one with the flamethrowers? Yes. Alright, now I'm just going to wire up all of the motors the same direction. Not the same direction, but just straight across the board. And I'm going to change their orientation later. Another benefit of not heat shrinking is that it's really easy to leave these pads exposed until the last second, or always exposed, so that you can change direction or take a new motor on and off real easy without having to, again, re-shrink your whole thing. Not a big crowd tonight, unfortunately. We got to get some more people up in here. Don't you just reverse them in BL Heli? I do not. These ESCs do not run BL Heli, and even if they did, I would not. I just do it the old-fashioned way because it's super easy. I like how you have a lot of slack between the motor and the ESC. Yeah, I like to leave a little bit because I don't want to have to, if I need to move these motors to another quad or something like that, I want to have a little bit extra to work with just in case the next frame is a little bit bigger or needs me to move the wire somewhere different. So I just leave a little bit. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it's extremely functional. And I am very much about functional over pretty. If I can achieve both, great, but that's not always an option. First time watching, doing great, man. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys were able to stop by. Did you say you're in Colorado right now with the guys? Are you guys doing some racing, or are you just chilling, or what? For those of you that missed it, KD Design is a sponsored pilot by Atmospheric Adventures, for whom we're building this quad, or on behalf of whom. I don't know. Okay. Going to a race on Sunday. Is it a Nationals qualifier? Okay. So motors are wired up. Looking good. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to do while I'm down here. There we go. That's a little better. All right. So now I'm going to hook up the flight controller, or at least get started with it. So once again, this is the Flip 32 F3 AIO. It's got an OSD and an F3 controller. On the side here, what I've already done is created these little jumpers. So these pins are all switches, and I really should just get a hold of a set of dip switches, like from Banggood or something like that. But I didn't have time to wait for it. But so this is just a servo lead cut in half with the two leads soldered together, and then depending on where you have both of these mounted here, controls which connection you're making with the UARTs for the flight controller and OSD. So when they're in this position, they're connected. The flight controller and OSD are connected together. When they're in this position, you can use the USB port to connect to the OSD, and when they're in this position, you can use the USB to connect to the flight controller. I have all of the software configured and updated already to Betaflight 2.6, as well as MultiWii OSD 2.6 or something like that. Is that right? 1.6? I don't remember. Anyway, so that's all updated, and so I'm just going to leave the flight controller and OSD connected together, because that's the way we're going to need it in a little bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is give power to the flight controller. So I already kind of set this up a little bit, just because I wasn't sure. I just wanted to make sure I knew how to do it before I did it for you guys. But so I've got grounded voltage in coming in there. I think I've even got some wires that are the right length already. So ground is the outermost. Cat hair. Do I have a white wire somewhere? Our next one will be June 18th and 19th. Which one is that? And it's a multi-GP qualifier or a Drone Nationals qualifier? Do you register your drones with the FAA? Yes. I bought a label maker just for that purpose. Okay, so like I said, this power distribution board has a 5-volt out, and my flight controller needs 5 volts, so I can wire it in right here. What gauge wire do you use to power the flight controller? Small stuff that I have lying around in my box of wires. I have no idea. Okay, so there we go. The flight controller should now have power. So why don't we go ahead and give this a quick test plug-in after checking all of our polarity. So we verified that the speed controllers have ground on this side and power on this. We have positive to positive, positive to positive, negative to negative, positive to positive, negative to negative, negative to negative, positive to positive, positive to positive, negative to negative, and then the motors are all hooked up. We shouldn't get any beep tones. I don't think that these ESCs beep with just power. They need to have signal to beep. 3-cell battery here. So here is the first chance for magic smoke on tonight's build. 3, 2, 1. No magic smoke, and the flight controller powered up just fine. Woohoo! Alright, so now time to wire up the ESCs. Okay, so now we got to start with motor 1, or we don't have to start with motor 1, but I choose to, because that makes life simpler for me. And what we have here is PWM 1 through 8 is on this side, starting with 1 and ending with 8. So if we flip it, it starts next to the signal input, or the power input for the flight controller. And so I'm just going to solder up these pads. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now we need to find the right wire. So here's some ESC wire I've got lying around. I'm going to go from signal around the flight controller, so about that will work well. We also need some grounding wire. I always ground my ESCs. I catch a decent amount of flack for doing so, but I think it's the right thing to do. If you have the ability, it does not hurt. It can only help. And we got to ground it to this side. Signal voltage ground. So it should be this port. I believe. Ooh, shoot. Got it. Okay. Oh snap, did you get a decent soldering iron? Yes, I did. I'm nervous. So this says SVG, but usually this is ground and this is signal. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to plug this back in, and I'm going to use my multimeter to check to make sure that we've got this right. Okay. So if we see this, we should see 5 volts if I touch this and this. Okay, so this is indeed our ground here. It's on the inside, not this way like I thought. So, okay, so innermost is ground. Would he wear eye protection if we sent it? If you sent like some sweet ass goggles with like headlight, like lights on them and like zoom in and stuff, then I would use it. Okay, so all that to say, we don't have a very long run to make with our ground, but I'm going to wrap it around inside the flight controller like this and come back over top. I like to just do everything on the top rather than try to like do it on the bottom and top and have to flip it around and all that junk. It's just kind of a pain in the butt to work with. So I just mount everything on the top anyway. So we should be able to do something like that. I got solder in my left eye and lost vision for a month. Yikes. Yeah, it's something that I really should do, but I haven't done. I do have some safety goggles upstairs, but gotta look pretty for you guys. Well, somehow I grossly mismeasured that. So I guess we'll take that off and get something a little bit longer. Sweet diagram. Yeah, and so this is very useful to do, and it's going to come back in handy later when we're working on motor direction. So yeah, it's not. It's good here, but it's even better later. And so when we get there, you'll see that too. Did you hot glue your signal wire? No. Okay. So that ESC is totally wired up. Now we'll move on to number 2. And number 2. We just reuse this 2 short wire. Do you hot glue your signal wire? Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. No, I will get to how I manage that in a bit here. That's one of my last steps. And it's dead simple, and you guys are going to hate it, because all of my friends hate it, but I love it. It's perfect. Hype. So I need a second monitor so I can watch Paul and edit at the same time. I cannot edit when anyone else is talking. Like if I hear something other than just the freaking video that I'm working on, like I just can't do it. Like so I can't sit in Hangouts while I'm editing. I can't listen. I can't watch TV while I'm editing. Like it just has to be that. I just for some reason those wires in my brain are totally crossed, and I can't even. Okay, 2 done. 2 to go. So now we'll move on to number 3, which is this one. So once again, we don't have to go very far for the ground. So we'll just knock that out of the way. Let me know if you want a different angle on anything, or if you want me to zoom things in, whatever. By the way, thanks for the shout out. Yeah, holy cow, I am absolutely in love with everything Atmospheric Adventures is doing. I love this frame. I want to try the it's the Ares. It's their Freestyle X quad rather than just straight X. Looks pretty awesome, nice and slim. I saw Darren's personal one at MDX. It looked sweet. Darren must like red a lot, I think. And then I love my Apollo. Where is that thing? Ugh. This little bugger. This is my slammed Apollo. I didn't like how tall it was, so I put a little micro cam in it and lowered everything. I've actually raised it up a little bit since I did the live stream because I needed to use these aluminum standoffs instead, and it's just so fun to fly around. I was literally flying it like 20 minutes before I started the stream, just around the house and stuff. I gotta post some more video from that because it's pretty fun. And I might convert it into an Apollo 2 and get something else, or either get another one or another 3-inch frame, because I want to have the prop guards just for dinking around with other things too. So it's just kind of like, oh no, I got too many things that I want to do, as with this hobby is always. So yeah, I'm super excited that you stopped by. I hope that Darren or Alan could make it sometime too. Check it out. I think Darren came by one day for a little bit. What's your opinion on soldering header pins? What do you mean? Ching. Okay, 3 ESCs done. No pins. Yeah, I only have pins here because I need them. I need to be able to switch the jumpers real easily, and I can't solder every time I need to do that. So that's just an unfortunate necessity for this flight controller. Will that reach? Doesn't look like it. How often do you fly and practice? I try to fly every day. I think I'm on 10 days in a row right now, or so. And I practice probably, when you say practice, I'm just going to assume you mean racing practice. More than 50% of my fly time is practicing a course. So whether that's just setting something up real simple around the house, or setting or going out with a bunch of guys and making a course and flying it, that's all time I would consider like hardcore practice, as opposed to just doing a little freestyle or dinking around or something like that. So try to fly every day, practice as much as possible, but usually practicing has a bigger time constraint, and I don't always have time to set up a course and learn it and improve on it, etc. Are you going to run 3 and 4 cell? Only 4? I think I'll buy this frame because where is the Shrike? I have no comment. But yeah, I think that this is a great frame if you want that small Truex feel. I think this one is a lot more durable than some of the other ones on the market. Just bought a Haka from Fry's. Pumped. I bet you paid way more than you needed to, too. $79? I guess it's not bad. Mine is an AOA. I don't know. How to pronounce it, unfortunately. Okay. 4 motors wired up, hooked up to flight controller. They have power, which we already tested. They're grounded, and it's beautiful. Wait, did Boba Fett finally buy a temp-controlled iron? I did not buy it. It was sent to me by a generous patron of the FPV Livestream, aka DRK Avenger, and I'm extremely grateful. Look at that. Okay, so all of our ESCs armed, our flight controllers connected, everything's wired up, ready to go. We've got grounds and signals. Everything's clean and purdy. I'm not going to yet cover up the motor pads or these signal pads because we might need to reverse some directions, and we're going to have to hook into the power on the ESCs for like the LEDs, for example, when we get to them. So the next thing that I want to do before I get too far is that I need to be able to access the pads here on the bottom of this, because that is my that is part of my OSD wiring. And so if I go too far before I add that in, it's going to be a pain to come back and add it. So I'm going to go ahead and take care of that now. I noticed that you don't do it, so I was wondering why you don't, since header pins make it easy to remove stuff. Well, so this particular frame just does not have enough room for header pins, no matter which way you swing it. So that's one big reason in this particular case. That being said, I mostly choose not to use them because it's just another failure point, if that makes any sense. Like, if something goes wrong on them, things can pop off those pretty easily by accident, or you can break header pins pretty easily and stuff like that. And so it's just not a risk that I think is necessary. If you can build it right the first time by just directly soldering everything and keeping everything nice and tight, then you're going to save yourself a lot of headache in the long run. I think in that it is harder to break, it is more maintainable. I gotta pull up the manual for this to make sure I remember which pad is which. Bat is closest. Okay. Which batteries do you use? I use mostly Tattoo 4-cell 1300s, 75C, but I also have my SMC 1300 True Spec, as well as a few graphenes, all 1300s. So that's what I generally race. Brain Drain or Mr. Steel, who would win? Definitely Brain Drain. Brain Drain is fast. All right. So ground is the innermost one. This is going to be tricky. Should have done this before everything else, but oh well. So I'm wiring on a battery voltage checker, the OSD. We'll use to see what the battery is on the flight battery, so that it can display how many volts you have left while you're in the air. Because I have to power the flight controller off of 3-cell or off of 5 volts, you have to have a separate connection for it, unfortunately. Okay, and then also on the bottom is your video out from the OSD. which means that is the connection that goes to your video transmitter, because your video transmitter is your video output. So we connect our video to this guy, and we want to ground our video connection to the OSD, not to the power distribution board. I don't know why, but sometimes it causes problems for micro minims or minim OSDs. So you want to connect it underneath. Okay, so now with all of that wired up, we should be good to seat the flight controller down onto these screws. And it's a real tight fit for some reason. I think the Flip 32s are just like slightly off. So I don't know exactly what's up with that. But it still leaves enough room to access the 12 volt pad, which is down here underneath on the OSD. Okay, so VTX cord all hooked up. I'm not going to sync this all the way because it's really, really hard to get off because of that tight fit. So that'll be one of our last steps after we've already tested our FPV gear. So the next thing to do is to get the camera. And if I remember correctly, they mirror each other, so you have the video input and ground right over top of each other. So you have your video out down there and your video in up here, like so. And ground it off. And then run your power for the camera down here. Now these cords are probably a little bit long. I may trim them up a little bit later. But I just wanted to make sure that I had enough to make sure everything fit before I made it so far that I had to take a step back. All right, so now I'm going to hook up the FPV gear and make sure that everything is good to go. Camera. And then my video transmitter with an RX antenna on it. Okay, we've got ourselves yet another magic smoke possibility moment. Always make sure you have an antenna plugged in when you power the video transmitter. Okay, came on, that's on. So we can assume that the camera's on, so I'll just take that off for now. Grab the base station. Okay. Let me make sure of that. So we're pointing. So this is the base station. I've got. Oops, sorry. Hold on. Gotta plug it in. Okay. I'm actually super proud of this. I've got everything on here on a switch. So up here, you've got your receiver. I've got my goggles, they're plugged in. I've got a screen, and I've actually got this. I just stuck this fan on here because I wanted, it gets pretty hot and humid here, so why not have that? And so if I flip this switch, boop, fan comes on, screen comes on, the receiver comes on, everything's hooked up. We're good to go on 5740, just waiting for signal. So now. If I could get this to show everything. If I plug this back in, should get footing. Look at that. FPV going, OSD is going, disarmed and no data because we don't have our tabs, our pins on. So what I forgot to do was put these jumpers back on, which connect the flight controller and OSD together. So I'm going to put these things right back on here and power it on again. And wait, and wait, and wait, and wait. Okay, now disarmed. We have no RSSI because nothing is plugged in. And we have 8.5 volts, which means this battery is really low. Shoot, probably stop using that one. Okay, so all that to say, FPV gear is working, and that means we don't need to go back underneath the flight controller, so we can lock this down into place. Get off my ground station here. Okay. Let's see. So we've got everything wired up. FPV is good. OSD is good. I love how simple this AIO board makes it. You know, obviously that was a really easy OSD wiring. Obviously I had it pre-configured, but you know that's not a super complicated step once you've done it once or twice. It is kind of a pain, I will admit. Getting wires cut in the standoff nylon. Okay. So now that whole thing is wedged down there, nice and clean. I'm really liking this build so far. One to write home to Mom about. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside for a sec while I've got my iron powered down and set up my camera mount because I love it and I'm super excited about it. I can't find it. There it is. Okay. So, what Atmospheric Adventures sends to you is its top plate, which is this meaty 3mm thick top plate. Like it's thick, but it's also light. I mean, that's only a few grams more than it would be otherwise. And then it has these two little side plates for it. Any idea what the total cost of this setup was? This one's not too bad actually. The motors are $14 each. The flight controller is a little bit more expensive. I think it's like $40 or something, but obviously you get a lot with it. The receivers, $25. Transmitters, $20. The ESCs are each like $14. The frame itself is $70, which is a little bit on the expensive side. But like I said before, I think that Atmospheric Adventures makes it absolutely worth it. The camera is $30. So I mean, it's your average build. You're looking probably at $300 all in. But you know, that's pretty standard cost. You know, it's not super high end Kiss alien bull something, but it's also not, you know, a budget build. It's I think it's right in between a good fast racer that has a lot of power and durability, and but it won't break the bank at the same time. So what you got here is you have these screws that come through these holes in the middle, okay? And then you want to basically just screw on these nylocks just a little bit. Wait, how did I do this? No. You need to put, sorry, I forgot how I did it the first time. So you basically slip this nylock into the carbon fiber. I think I had to file this once a little bit because it was just, the tolerance was a little bit tight. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's in. And then the whole thing clamps together. If I had this ready. You start screwing it, and you get this like 90-degree angle carbon fiber side plate because it kind of holds itself in there, and it's awesome. I love it. So that's super strong, super sturdy, and it's not. It's just brilliant. Like I don't know why everyone isn't doing this because I can't believe how stupid simple and stupid cool it is. But yeah. Now we'll do the same thing on this side. So it is a little bit tricky to get it in But once you get it, it's not going to go anywhere. I have yet to have to remount this on my other build. Okay, so that's the top plate assembled. While we're at it, I'm going to grab my camera and hook it up as well. Now, another awesome thing that Atmospheric Adventures does that I think is also absolutely brilliant is that they send these little plastic O-rings with it that you can put between your camera and the sidewall, and it helps lock everything in place. Like, it's just the stupid simplest idea that I've ever seen, but it helps a ton. So basically, if you set, these O-rings over the side and then pull the camera in, it can be a little tricky to get it all in at the same time. There we go. And then you can a little too small. Got the wrong size. Hold on, I gotta find the right bit for my screwdriver. Ugh, it's over here, I think. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Oh, I put it on backwards. In all of the confusion. There we go. And then, sorry, a little tighter. I'll do it without flexing the plastic of the camera. There we go. Okay. And then so it's on these rails here, so you can slide it back to protect it a little bit, you know, like that, or all the way forward so that you can tilt it as much as you want. You know, and that gets you up to a pretty high angle there. That's probably pushing closer to 60 degrees, you know, which is getting close to the most people would ever want right now. I'm sure that eventually it will continue to climb, but for now, 60 degrees seems to be the top end that most people fly. Okay. So before we do that, or go further with that, let's go ahead and hook up our receiver, which is just an X4R. I need to turn my iron back on. Check my phone. Don't look like an asshole doing it. Yeah. And then, so another thing that Atmospheric Adventures now sells this TPU angled mount. This one is a 35-degree one, and I have the zip tie on here because it helps hold on my Yi lens protector. But yeah, so this thing is great. It takes out any jello, even from like, you know, accidental left on or bad bent props or whatever. And it protects your camera, and I haven't yet broken it, so I really like it. So I'm trying to get a hold of another one just to have it on here forever and always, because it's great. Nice ratchet screwdriver. Thank you. I like my screwdriver too. Okay, iron, are you hot enough yet? Let's just say you are. Okay, then for the S-bus, you have this, and this for voltage, signal, ground. Signal is the furthest to the outside. Actually, let me do it this way. Oh wait, no. What am I talking about? This is totally wrong. It's over here. Emily Panda wants a shout out. Who's Emily Panda? And why does she deserve a shout out? And on the ground. Okay. Now for me, ooh, look at that. Are you live on YouTube? Yes, I am. I'm worried you're a spam bot. I'm too lazy to get up and use my heat gun. Haha, what did you solder that RX to? Would you have toasted it? No. I would not have toasted it, but it wouldn't have done anything. That would have been pretty unexciting. Okay, and I usually just friction fit my receiver in here. I need to get some new receiver lines, so this one's a little bit short. This one will fit out the top, luckily. So yeah. All right. Now I need my standoffs. Nothing, I mean airplanes. Nothing and airplanes are two very different things. Okay, and then what I've found is that it needs to kind of be back towards the back of the quad because with the camera tilt, it tries to nudge in against it. So it's got to be kind of like that a little bit, if that makes any sense at all. Okay, and then so I've found that it's easiest to plug in the camera before the VTX because once the VTX goes on, it makes it really hard to access this port if you have a top-mounted camera cable. Where's my VTX? Here it is. Once again, the little O-rings that Atmospheric Adventure sends can go on the VTX there, and then no. I did this the first time I built this thing too. I put the top plate on upside down. And the reason it's upside down is that you see those little square grooves? Those fit in directly with the square part of this SMA. So once it gets wedged in there with those O-rings, the flight controller will not go anywhere, ever, no matter how much you want it to. So that's just another nice design feature that they thought of when building this. That I cannot believe that no one else has thought of, or at least popularized. Are you going to solder the telemetry into the flight controller? Nope, I don't use it. Because I am almost always flying via FPV. I just use the OSD to show me battery voltages and RSSI and all that. And I use RSSI over an auxiliary channel, not over analog input or whatever. Okay, now that this isn't upside down anymore, I can stick that guy on there and screw on an antenna. So the antenna is what's going to hold it. Oh, shoot. No. First, we're going to hook up the camera. Like this. Then the VTX. And then, I mean, this thing is not going anywhere. And all of the impact is going to be on that antenna cable and not on the VTX itself. Stick our antenna wire through. Let me clean this one up. I used it on a different quad recently, and it was flying fine, so I'm not worried about it at all. Just kind of wedge all these wires back in here. And I'll fix that in a second a little bit better. But first I want to get this top plate locked on. This is kind of a tricky part, and it's the case with any pod-based quad. Is it's just kind of tricky to get everything finished up at the end. Pod quad. Where are... What's this guy? Did the sound go out? Is anybody else having problems with my sound? I guess if I'm asking that, you might never know. I love these little red screws. They're just they're pretty. Okay, so I'll take care of that in a bit. Okay. Now, at the beginning of this, I said I do wire management in a way that people are going to hate me for. And this is that moment. Once I've got the pod assembled, I literally just drop a rubber band over it. And that is my semi-permanent way of just keeping wires in check, keeping them exactly where I want them to be. And it's easy to remove, but it forms a nice barrier against wires escaping into the props. But it's not pretty, but it's extremely, extremely effective. All right, so now we got to check motor direction. And for that, I will need my transmitter. Okay, and this receiver should already be bound. And now if we just give it the old arm, nothing happens. Is my receiver connected? Oops. Messed up the receiver wiring, of course. But luckily it shouldn't have caused any damage. Okay, the receiver is wired over here. And I did it wrong. So I'm just going to take all these off. Okay, I'm going to power it up. And I'm just going to use my multimeter to make sure that I've got it the right way this time. So, first. What? All right, to the ground VCC S bus. Okay, so ground is the outside one, S bus is the inside one. So we need ground. Quiet. Twins. Ugh. A lot easier without that standoff on. There we go. So that should be correct now. Okay, and now the receiver is on. So I'm going to power up the transmitter. And money. Looks like these ESCs might need to be calibrated because one of them isn't spinning up until later. But I assume that, yeah, that should be fine. No serious problem there. What ESCs are those? These are the ready-to-fly quads, Firefly, 32-bit, ARM processor-based speed controllers. Okay. Oh my gosh, I am not paying enough attention tonight. Look at this. See where my XT60 is coming out? That's the back. See where my camera is pointed at? That's not the front. Oh my goodness. I need to take a nap or something. In my defense, I did not sleep much last night. Ah, cool. Are you going to check out the new DL Heli S ESCs? I would love to. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, this one's a little bit heavier because it's 4mm carbon, and each motor is actually closer to 30 grams. So these motors are a bit on the heavy side. So it's probably going to be right around 300 is my guess. All right, now we got to check motor direction, which we haven't done yet. Okay. That one is spinning the correct direction. That one is going the correct direction. This one is going the wrong direction. So we're going to use our little piece of paper here and say, rotate that one. And then the non-calibrated one, let's speed it up a little bit. Is also going the wrong direction, so we have to reverse those two. Still can't work how the X4R stays in there. I mean, it's just friction fit and rubber bands. I mean, it's not going anywhere. What temperature have you been soldering at? 425 degrees Celsius or so. All right, recheck directions. We should be good now. Okay, correct, correct, correct. Correct. We're all good. Okay. Now, we're just on to some finishing touches here. We've got the LEDs. Oh, and I just turned off my iron. I could bend this. Looks like these were not, some wire lengths are all wrong. Oops. No, I'm just gonna get 2 fresh ones. Going to calibrate those ESC with the TX via or via GUI. Can you calibrate ESCs with the transmitter? If so, how? That sounds awesome. But my plan was to do it with the GUI, I guess. Are you just wiring those LEDs to the escrow power wires? Yep. Oh, shoot. And then I zip tied them down like a stupid head. These are not 12-volt LEDs, they're 12 to 14-volt LEDs. They're the same brightness on 12-volt or 4-volt, or 12, 16-volt. I've run these on 16-volt quite a bit, never had a problem. We considered a 28124 LED board. Is that like an addressable one or something? Okay, test that out. Green on one side, red on the other. They are addressable. Yeah, I don't have any real desire for addressable ones, just because it's a lot more fiddling, and I don't want to fiddle, I just want to fly. So I do this drop dead simple, right on top with green on bottom. Helps me maintain orientation if I'm doing line of sight testing. lets my friends be able to see me passing them. You know, normal racer stuff. So I don't want to spend 20 minutes setting up a LED and getting all of the right colors and turn signals and all that crap. I just want to go out and fly. Paul doesn't like to faff about. Exactly. Let's race, mother trucker. All right, let's calibrate these ESCs, and then we're well on our way. Clean Frigate. OBS, desktop. Okay, so we gotta switch our jumpers to connect to flight controller mode, which is this one, I believe. Boop, boop, boop. There it goes. Motors tab. I don't know if you guys can see. So make sure your props are off is step number one. Make sure your min and max throttle is set to where you want it. I want it 1040 to 2K. Then you need to go into your motors tab, take your props off, click I understand, and crank master to the top. Then plug in a LiPo and you'll get a series of beeps. Mine sound different because of these ESCs. And then scroll all the way down. And you hear the calibration ding. Unplug LiPo and disconnect. So now, if we come back to this, plug it in, and arm. All the motors should spin at the same exact moment now. And what do you know? Yes, they are. Okay. Now let's put some praps on here. Do you in air mode? Yes, I run air mode and Super Expo on all the time. because why not with props? It'll be a doorstop by the time I'm done with it. It looks so stupid. Oh my gosh. I can't handle it. Whose idea was hexa props? It's just so dumb. I didn't buy these, for the record. They were sent to me. They fly fine. They're not... I wouldn't choose them over anything else in my arsenal. But they do the job. Hife would be proud. Yes, he would. They're actually not as fragile as I thought. They take hits better than the HQ 5040 by 3 tri-blades, in my opinion. You know, in the minimal experience that I have with them. Oh, we didn't put a battery strap on here yet. But I mean, you lose one of those blades and you've got to replace it, so it's like, eh. All right. decimal. There we go. So that strap will never come out ever again. Worst live stream ever. This guy can't even put on a battery strap. There we go. This actually has potential to be a pretty interesting hover test because these props tend to be really hard to tune for, and because this is not tuned for them at all, it might just kind of go crazy. So prepare for excitement like you've never witnessed before. Make sure our FPV system is still working, and it is. Okay. Not a lot of room down here right now. But yeah, you can hear how overtuned that is for these things. So yeah, that there is how you build an Atmospheric Adventures Artemis. No drama, what the fuck. So yeah, I'll give this puppy a maiden tomorrow. Not with these props though. I just put them on because I thought you guys might appreciate it. I gotta find a good use for these. Ugh, get off. Anyway, does anybody have any questions about this, about what we did here? Anything that they want me to kind of review, touch up on, clarify, give more details, whatever. I should have put the link dump in here, but if you go to atmosphericadventures.com, you can pick up this frame, I believe, for $70, which I think is actually, that's the middle of the road for frames. That's about as much as I would ever consider spending on a frame. But I think that it is well worth it from Atmospheric Adventures. They're they're just an amazing group. I think they are actually genuinely innovating in some aspects of frame design, especially with their FPV camera system. And so, I mean, just for the innovation alone, I think it's totally worth supporting them. And so $70 is a bit of a premium for a frame, but I think it is well worth your hard-earned money to pick up one of these and fly it, because they're just great machines, and I like them a lot. So yeah, there's Tweedledee and Tweedledum. I gotta take these props off anyway. They're at the end of their life. Very fast shipping, yeah, that's true. But yeah, so anybody have any questions about what they saw today? Anything else that they want me to touch on? Could be totally unrelated to any of this. The other guys support them. Oh, that's your racing group, right? Can you say price again? I believe that it is $70. I can't remember for sure. Can KD Design, can you back me up on that? Atmosphericadventures.com. You can definitely get the details. And if you drop a message in the comments that I sent you there, I'd really appreciate that. It helps me be able to kind of have a little bit more clout when going back to vendors and working with them to get giveaways and kind of continuing to grow this audience and this community. So yeah, so check them out. Check out fpv-chat.com if you want to. If you ever have any questions, there's a great community there. What kind of antenna? These are handmade by me, right-hand circular polarized antennas. Indestructible. I have not managed to break one yet since I started making them this way. But yeah, so Atmospheric Adventures Artemis, awesome frame. Get yourself one. It's absolutely my favorite quad right now. That's why I have two of them that are the exact same thing from top to bottom. I'm actually, so this is my first original one, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to take out the Flip 32 that I got in here and put in this AIO build or flight controller, so that I have that the OSD set up in there as well. But yeah, how did you get 5 volt to your flight controller? That power distribution board has a 5 volt regulator right there. I'll show you this one. Right here is 5 volt on this side, and there's 12 volt on this side. So I just used the 5 volt from there and gave it to my flight controller. Any 5 volt and ground on the flight controller will power it, so you can hit that anywhere. You can solder it to your flight controller anywhere. Anyway, yeah, so go to atmosphericadventures.com, buy an Artemis, tell them I sent you. And again, this stream actually was me deciding to because they had sent me this second frame because I had slightly damaged this one. Darren from Atmospheric Adventures just dropped everything and said, "Here, take it, go." And so this is not a sponsored episode in the sense that they send it to me in exchange for an episode. Instead, it was me deciding, hey, thank you so much. I love everything that you're doing. Let's continue working together. So absolutely highly recommend Atmospheric Adventures and supporting them and everything that they've got going on. But yeah, so Atmospheric Adventures Artemis. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming to this episode of the FPV live stream. If this is your first time tonight, I'm super excited that you were able to make it. Come back next week. We're going to be doing more and more every single episode. Next week's episode is actually going to be pretty fun. My hint will be that it is choose your own adventure quad. But I'm going to film a promo video and kind of try to publicize it a little bit and get some people to try to get a bigger audience for this one. We'll see what happens. Next, if you are a returning guest, thank you for coming back. I'm sorry we didn't have a giveaway this week. We have a couple big giveaways coming up soon, so stay tuned for that. And if you're a vendor, reach out to me at thefpvlivestream.com or paulnerkula.com or fpv-chat.com. Let's set something up and work on a project together, because it's fun. This is a fun way to showcase your product. But yeah, until next week, at Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, I have been Paul Nerkula, aka Boba Fett FPV, and this is thefpvlivestream.com. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, actually, for those of you in the United States, and stay flying.